All right, so this podcast is we're going to go over implementing some of the stuff in IP tables we need to implement. I'll be figuring it out as I go along, so hopefully it doesn't take too long. It says SSH access must be restricted to certain IP addresses using IP tables and or TCP wrappers. Says the IP tables firewall must be running. It should only allow inbound access to required services. The IP tables firewall must be configured to log dropped SSH packets. So let's see if we can figure this out. Starting with, I'm going to go to this page. This was there. I put three links to IP tables related information in D2L. One is a CentOS wiki that's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. Another is like this ridiculously huge everything you've ever wanted to know about IP tables tutorial thing. This ginormous. And then there's this one. This is the Goldilocks. It's just right. It has more than the easy one, but less than the big one. So I'm going to be referencing this as we go along. First, we want to know is the IP tables firewall running? And we can do that a couple different ways. We can do service, IP tables, status, and we can do IP tables -L. Does the same thing, or a similar thing. A different service IP table status doesn't. It puts numbers here instead of anywhere, and it puts numbers for the port instead of looking up names. You can get that with a -N option to IP tables. So that shows us that. So let's look at what we're actually looking at. Here we have our input chain, our forward chain, and our output chain. Forwarding would be if we wanted our box to operate as a router, which we do not, so it is rejecting that. Output, there is no output chain, so it's letting everything out. Is that a good security policy to have, to let everything out? Probably not. You probably should only let out what's explicitly needed. But in this case, we're just going to leave it as is for now. Maybe we might change it later. If we look at our input chain, we have an accept all that are related or established. So that lets packets through that are part of an already established session or related to an established session. We're letting all ICMP in. We're letting what? All, accept all from anywhere to anywhere. Holy cow, is that letting everything in? That's what it looks like, right? And then we have this accept TCP, new connections, destination port 20. So that's our SSH, let SSH in. And then we have reject, all, reject with ICMP host prohibited. So anything that gets rejected, there would be an ICMP host prohibited error message coming back from the server to you. So I'm kind of concerned about this accept all from anywhere statement. Unfortunately, we can put a -V on here to get more output. And if we do that, then we can see that, oh, hey, that all statement is only for the loopback interface. Here as we specified the interface, loopback interface. So that lets everything work for localhost. So that's okay. So really the only thing we're letting in related packets, we're letting in ICMP, and we're letting in TCP 22. So this guide has some useful information in there. You can append and remove lines using numbers. So to do that, we might want to know what the line numbers are. We might want to know how to spell line numbers. So in this case, we have line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we go down here, we can see that we can use line numbers to insert or delete firewall rules. So to display, where we got, we want to insert some stuff. Let's see if I can find where it was. Insert firewall rules. To insert one or more rules in the selected chain, given a rule number to use the following syntax. So IP tables -L input -N. Line number shows the line number, and then to insert the rule. Here's the rule we would insert: -J drop. So that's going to put the rule between 1 and 2. -I input 2, so puts it before 2 and the source and the action. So an action we want to do, let's go find our security standard. there's two things we need to add. We need to add a rule or two that only allows certain sources to connect to SSH, and then we want to, then we're going to need to delete the rule that lets everything connect, and then we want to log dropped SSH packets. So let's go back over here to the web page. So we want to add a rule. This specifies the source and the action. So we're going to do something like that. So let's make my window smaller so I can see both of those. So we want to do iptables -I input, and we want to put we want this to be number, we want to put it after 3, so we'll put 4, and we want source. I'm going to specify the CNT serve, which I think CNT serve is 103, right? If config, what the heck? Testy little path variable, yeah, 240.103. So I'm going to say I want anything 240 to 103. I want to specify the port. Let me see if I can figure out how to specify the port. Let's see. Open. So okay, so we'll do dash. Let's see. I don't want to do that. I want 1. All right, dash P. There we go. We'll do this. Oops. Destination port 22. And then let's see. Dash J is the exception, is the action, I guess. Dash J accept. Let's see what that did. So now I have a rule in there that says, hey, anything from, crap, I didn't want all that. I wanted something else. Probably like dash state. Let's see. Dash state. Dash, is that capital state? Dash state. New. Unknown option. It said dash state, right? Dash M state. Oh, there we go. So now let's see what we have. Not what I wanted. There we go. So now we have it. So I want to delete 5. So let's go figure out how we delete a rule based on number. Delete, insert, delete. Okay. So I want to delete number 5, iptables -D input, and then just the number 5. Yeah, 5. Show, not show, this is in the Cisco box. So there, I have the line I want. The other thing I want to allow, I'm going to allow a network Our subnet for our OpenVPN is 255.0/24. So I'm going to allow SSH from there. Oh, and I forgot to put the -m tells it to load a module. So that said, hey, load the state module. And now if I look at my thing, now I have the lines I want in there. So let me go back over here and try to SSH in. Oh, I don't want to be root. So now, hopefully, all right, I can use that to see that, hey, look, my new rule actually worked. I had one new packet for SSH, so that actually worked. So now I can SSH from CNT serve, and I can SSH from the OpenVPN subnet. So I want to get rid of this rule number 6 that lets everybody get in. So I'm going to delete rule number 6. All right. So now rule number 6 is gone. So now if I, from here, go into my other box, still is root because I didn't secure it yet. So from there, if I try to SSH, hey, it failed. So cool. I can ping it though, right? Can I ping it? Yeah, I can ping it. So my firewall dropped that bad SSH. So that was the first part. Let's go see what it says to do. My security standard. SSH access must be restricted to certain IP addresses using iptables or TCP wrappers. TCP wrappers uses the host.allow and host.deny functionality. So down here you could do something like SSHD : 192.168.240.103, and then that may or may not work. I can't really remember the syntax for that. Why don't I go look right quick? Host.allow syntax. So yeah, so SSHD. Maybe I didn't need to put all caps. Put SSHD. Put this in the host.allow and put this in the host.deny, and then that would only let that IP connect or that domain name connect. But we're not going to worry too much about that. We're going to stick with just messing with iptables at this point. So let's see what else we need to do. iptables must be running. It should only allow inbound access to required services. Well, right now we're only allowed access to port 22 for SSH. So we are doing that. Later on, when we make it a web server, we're going to need to add web server ports to that. But for now, we're doing good. And this says iptables must be configured to log dropped SSH packets. So we're going to need to insert a rule. So we're going to insert a rule that we're not going to specify source, and we're going to put it before number 6. Right, number 6 is this reject all rule with ICMP host prohibited. We're going to put number 6. We want to drop it. Is drop in action? Let's go look at our file. I think I want to drop. We're going to drop it. Drop. Yeah, drop's a word. There's logging down here somewhere too. Drop. Log and drop packets. Oh, we need to log it first and then drop it. So we will insert 6. We will log. We don't care about state. Right? Oh, actually, we're going to do this too. We're going to limit the number of log entries. So we're going to -j log. This log prefix, put some extra words in the log so that you can figure out what it is. We'll call it dropped SSH. Right, so we put that in, and now we're going to put one before 7, because if we look at our line numbers, our new rule was 6. Now we want to put a 7 in. 7 before 7, and we want to actually drop it now. 7. And we want to drop. Oh, I forgot to drop. I forgot I was going to do this number of entries thing. Oh well, maybe we'll go back and fix that in a minute. So let's see what happens now if I try to SSH in. Interesting. Before I got this no route to host thing, and now it's just kind of hanging out. What's the difference? All right, so it's getting logged now, which is good. Dropped SSH, the interface, the MAC address source. But back over here, what is up with this? Why is it hanging out now? Well, the difference is we dropped it instead of rejecting it. When we were, crap, that was already there. Did I put that in again? Yeah, let me put that in again. That's pretty awesome. So I want to delete number, what am I doing? Drop, delete number 7. All right. So before we were rejecting and we were sending back an ICMP error message, and now we're just dropping it. So the host doesn't know what's going on. I did not like the number of messages I got. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 error messages for that one attempted connection. So I actually think I do want to go back and redo the limit the number of drops. So I'm going to put a new rule in. I'm going to put a new log rule in, and I'm going to put this other stuff in there. I'm going to put -m limit to load the limit module. Limit 5 per minute. Is that what this stands for? Per 5 minutes. At most 7 entries. So this is going to keep me from getting more than 7 entries in 5 minutes, which isn't really going to help in this situation. I'll still get all those entries, but if somebody's like doing it constantly, that'll keep me from getting too many entries. Limit -burst 7. That sounds like a good thing. And I'm going to change the log. I'm going to put a 2 on the end just so we can know that, hey, it's using the new rule instead of the old one. So I add that, and now I will get rid of the old one, which was number 7. So I'm going to delete number 7 again. Delete number 7. And now, so now my new log entry, I still got 4 log entries, but it's going to limit it to 7 over 5 minutes. So that would provide some protection against my log file getting too big. So you can log anything. I just logged in my security standard I wrote for us, I said we should log dropped SSH packets. We could log successful SSH packets. Maybe you want to log successful because you know that you want to know who was able to connect. So you can log whatever you see fit in your organization. I've only specified the one thing to log. So that's how we can use the actual iptables commands to change that. But now that we've changed that, we haven't saved it yet. So if we look in our startup directory, we have a file in here somewhere. That's not it. It's not even the right directory. Sysconfig, iptables, iptables. Yeah. So if we look at this file, this is what our rules used to be. So if we restarted the firewall right now, our rules would go back to being this. If the system rebooted right now, this would be what we would end up with. So we want to save our firewall rules to that place. And there's some thing up here. Okay, service iptable save. So if we do that, save, service iptable save. And now if we look at the file, now I have my new rules in there. So say, oh, actually I'm not going to do this again. In the other podcast, I actually went through and shows you how to edit this file. So instead of doing the iptables commands we just did, you could actually go in here, you could edit this file. Edit the file, and then you could go, oh, hey, I want to, drop something else instead of doing the error message, and you can copy it. Say, oh, hey, I also want to drop port 80. I don't want to reject port 80. I want to drop port 80. I'm going to drop port 80 now. And then if you do service iptables, restart. In theory, it's now going to have that new rule in there. So, hey, look, now we're dropping port 80 instead of rejecting it. So, let's go review our security standard to make sure that was everything we needed to do. See, SSH access must be restricted. We did that. iptable firewall must be running. Should only allow inbound access. We did that. iptables firewall must be configured to log dropped SSH packets. So we're doing that. So we have successfully met all of the security standards for this module except for one. The next podcast is going to go over system baselining. So that's the last thing we're going to do for this module. So hurry back.